Hey, Megan.
Hello, Leslie. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for joining our summit. I think this
I'm
is your
so
second.
excited to be here.
We love having you, and our audience loves hearing all about your expertise. So thanks again.
Thank you.
For those of the listeners that don't know who you are, can you give us a quick background?
Yes, of course. So, Megan Lyons, I'm a doctor of clinical nutrition. I own the Lion Share Wellness, located here in Dallas, but we serve people all over the country and world. We're a small team of functional nutritionists, really focusing on those people who are already healthy, who have tried a million things and still aren't feeling their best. We take a really deep functional medicine approach and have a lot of fun doing it. I'm happy to be here and share what I can today.
Thank you. And I love your approach because really similar to our values here at Vitaminies, it's not like trying this fad or that fad. It's like taking care of yourself and then everything kind of falls into place.
That's exactly right. Yes. And for some people it falls into place quickly, and other people it takes a little time, but we're not in control of the time. We're just in control of putting one foot in front of the other and continuing to do what it takes to really fuel our body and nourish our body.
That's so true. And good things don't happen quickly, do they?
I often wish they did, but no, most of the time not.
So along the lines of what you were saying, many people do everything right or they're doing all the things, but they're not seeing the results that they want in terms of their bodies or the outcomes. So tell us about that. What would you say to those people?
Yeah, you're not broken and your body's not trying to fight against you. That's one of the most common things I hear is like, my body hates me. And people say it jokingly, but I'm kind of like woo-woo on this one. I think our body hears or feels that energy. And if it feels like a fight against our body, it can be really hard to lose weight, balance your hormones, manage your thyroid, whatever it is we're talking about. If you feel like it's a fight every single minute, it's hard. So instead, I like to think about it as a detective puzzle, and we get to figure out what our body is trying to tell us. Our body's one and only job is to keep us alive and keep us going. And it's telling us through our symptoms that feel frustrating. It's telling us, oh, go this way, or I need more of this, or I need less of this. We just have to kind of get a translator, which might be me, or it might be research or whatever, and be able to translate that language into what's understandable to us and then do what it's asking us to do.
Oh, that's so interesting. So it's like treating the signals as information as opposed to something you have to fight against.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay. No, that's great. So talk to us more about like some of the hypotheses people have if they're struggling with their weight loss or the things they're doing aren't working, and like what are some of these signals that come through? What are some of the answers you start to find?
Yeah, so a lot of people, especially these days, as we're talking more and more about hormones, which is so amazing, a lot of people come in and they just say, it's got to be my hormones. And I'm like, okay, you're probably right, but it's a little more detailed than people think because hormones, we think it's like menopause, perimenopause, estrogen, progesterone, whatever. But hormones are also insulin, regulating blood sugar, they're thyroid hormones, it's cortisol, which is our stress hormone, and all of these are working together. So we primarily work with endocrine patients. Endocrine just means anything hormone, and that's basically everything that people are dealing with these days. So it's all those things, sex hormones and thyroid and weight management and metabolism and all that. So when people say it's my hormones, I'm like, yes. And which hormones is it? Let's try to unpack. We have this pyramid that we use as a handout in our practice, which is showing that at the base of the pyramid is blood sugar. We need to regulate blood sugar first. And then we have cortisol and adrenal dysregulation. So that's our stress and all of that. Then it's thyroid. And then sex hormones are at the very top. So people often come in being like, I think I'm estrogen dominant. I just want to fix this. I'm like, oh, we got to go all the way down to the base of the pyramid and then work our way up. Otherwise, it doesn't really work for lasting change.
That's so interesting. Like when you said hormones, I definitely jumped straight to like menopause, perimenopause.
Yeah.
But there's so many different hormones. It's like saying, oh, the problem is food. Like, well,
Yes.
what's food?
Exactly like that. And I'm sure you get some interesting questions too. It's like, what's the healthiest food? I'm like, oh my gosh, my head is spinning. For what? What are we talking about? These simple things, they can really go layers and layers deeper.
No, that makes sense. And it sounds like your approach is really tailored to the person. So it's not going to be one size fits all. It's got to be specific.
Yes, that's right. Honestly, I wish I could do one nutrition plan or protocol or whatever that would work for every single person in life. And there are things, obviously, like getting some more vitamins and minerals and drinking more water and like sleeping more. And those things apply to every single person. So that's awesome as a baseline. But once we start getting into hormones and things, it really does have to be individualized.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And along the lines of hormones, I know there's some other trendy topics I've been seeing you talk about in your emails and hearing a lot about thyroids and adrenal and all these other things. Can you talk a little bit about those various areas and what's the difference?
Yes, absolutely. It is like a big Venn diagram, and the overlapping parts are really huge. So when people are like, ooh, I have anxiety and I think it's hormonal, or I have a slow metabolism, or I have fatigue or insomnia or whatever, I'm like, oh yeah, that could be any of these. And this is part of the reason why I made this quiz that's called Is This Normal?, which I think we can link in the resources to the summit. And the point of that quiz is for people to be able to put in some of their symptoms and kind of try to identify it. But let me give you an overview. For thyroid in general, this is, I think, the hidden culprit to a lot of people. Many people these days are thinking it's their sex hormones and it's actually their thyroid. Thyroid can result, and I'm going to talk about hypothyroid first, which is slow thyroid, because very few people actually have hyperthyroid. That's a thing, but it's less prominent. So hypothyroid is slow everything. It's slow energy, which is fatigue. It's slow metabolism, which is weight gain. It's slow digestion, which is constipation. It's slow hair growth. So people are noticing hair thinning, dry skin, more depression, fatigue, all of this slow. Adrenal dysfunction, on the other hand, just feels like I went through a whole period of adrenal dysregulation. And I used to describe it as there's someone in my head that's making me stressed out or in a bad mood or snappy or whatever. And I don't want to be that, but it's just happening. That's oftentimes our adrenals. So we can have these big energy swings. We can have that tired but wired feeling where we know we're exhausted, but we can't sleep. We're go, anxious. We're pulling on caffeine too much, all of this kind of stuff. Oftentimes waking up at that 2 to 4 a.m. Period of time. And then I think the last one you asked about was the sex hormones, which the most often or most obvious symptom if someone is having a period is irregular periods, heavy periods, PMS, breast tenderness, things like that around the time of the period or usually right before, bloating, water retention, all that. But if someone is not having a period, either through medication or they are maybe in HPA axis dysfunction or they're menopausal or whatever, then we have to think about other symptoms related to it. So is libido changing? Are we night sweating? Are we growing hair in different places that we might not have before? These are kind of symptoms that help us start to parse it out. And of course, best case scenario, we do labs, but for people listening who don't have access to labs, this is kind of where to start.
Okay, got it. And adrenal, that's like where adrenaline is coming from, right? Okay.
Yes, exactly.
Got it. Yeah.
Yeah. Adrenals are two teeny little glands, maybe like the size of walnuts or something like that on top of your kidneys. They secrete mostly cortisol and adrenaline, some other stuff too. But for this conversation, let's say cortisol and adrenaline. And adrenaline, like you said, people know what that feels like. It's like you get cut off in traffic and oh my gosh, sometimes you almost feel tingly and like ready to go. You're very focused. That comes down naturally. So no one gets cut off in traffic and then feels that way for the next 10 years. It comes down. Cortisol, though, that's like the low grade stress hormone that happens with chronic stress. It's like the inbox and the kids and the finances and the job and the boom, 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 forever and ever and ever. And unless we get good at telling that to go down, it doesn't really go down very well on its own. And cortisol leads to a lot of excess fat storage, which is very topical for what we're talking about today.
Yeah, no, that's great to know. So you mentioned testing, and that seems like a really good option of like, okay, you take a test, you get all the answers. Is that how it works? Or do you ever run into situations where the testing kind of says everything's good, but the person knows it's not?
So 100, well, maybe not 100% of the time, 98% of the time when someone just gets like their standard blood work at their annual physical or whatever, it's exactly what you just said. I feel terrible, but it looks fine. That completely misses it. The labs that we run are much more detailed, maybe like literally 8 times to 10 times more detailed. So we rarely get labs where there's nothing to work on. It's usually the opposite problem where we'll do these labs and we're like, okay, now there are these 7 things that are off and we don't know what the root cause is, but we'll just try to start attacking each one, usually going down to the base of that pyramid and figuring it out. And then sometimes if let's say finances are an issue and we're trying to run as few tests as possible, or certainly I'm not perfect as a guesser, so maybe I guessed the wrong test or whatever, it's definitely possible that we miss it and that we get labs back and we still don't know what to do. So then we either do more labs or we go based on symptoms, which is totally possible. There's always an answer. It's just kind of like the detective puzzle at the beginning. We just have to keep solving and solving and solving until we get to the point of feeling really good.
No, that makes sense. And I guess that's where you add value, because if it was just a test that gave you all the answers, then you wouldn't need someone helping you research.
And I totally want that too. Like people think there's just one test out there that's going to print out, here are all the foods Megan should eat for hormones and energy and longevity and all of this kind of stuff. And here are all the foods Megan shouldn't eat. And we are just not there yet from a science perspective. That test doesn't exist. When it does, I'll be so happy to run it, but it's just more complicated than that for now.
Yeah. Okay, that makes total sense. And you had mentioned specifically related to weight gain, some of these hormones can have an impact on your weight retention and like kind of canceling out maybe some of the other good benefits that you would get. Can you talk more about that?
Absolutely. So thyroid, to start out, that is a big regulator of your metabolism. So specifically the amount of T3, which is a thyroid hormone in your body, that changes the way you metabolize food and the way that you store food as fat. So someone who has hypothyroidism, slow thyroid, and they're, let's say, the same weight, gender, age, whatever, as another person who doesn't have hypothyroidism, and they're eating the exact same diet, the person with hypothyroidism is going to gain more weight or lose less weight. So that feels really frustrating. That's when people say, I'm doing everything right. And maybe they are. I look over their food log and I'm like, wow, this is really amazing. And let's fix your thyroid. So that one's very direct. The adrenaline or the adrenal dysregulation, which primarily is the cortisol, is what we're talking about here. Cortisol really plays with insulin, and insulin is our blood sugar regulator. And so when people have dysregulated cortisol, they tend to get insulin resistance. They're not able to break down their sugars as well. They become more resistant to sugar and high carbohydrate intake, and it just gets a little more sensitive to everything. And then last, for estrogen and progesterone, many people have estrogen dominance, which just means the estrogen's higher in relation to progesterone. And this for sure leads to bloating, water retention, and inability to lose weight. So if someone maybe even is losing weight, but they're becoming more, their body composition is not going in the direction they want. So they're gaining more fat and losing more muscle. This could definitely be estrogen dominance.
Okay, got it. And then a lot of people, when they think about weight management, jump to diets. Like, oh,
Yeah.
diet, that diet, like the trendy fad diet, whatever it is, maybe GLP-1, whatever.
Yep.
So what are your thoughts on that? Because I think you mentioned, I've heard you say that some of these things can actually make everything worse.
Totally.
Tell me about that.
So it really depends on what someone means by diet, because every one of us is on a diet. We all have a diet. My diet just happens to be not a restrictive one or a fad one or something that falls into one of these boxes, but diet could just mean what we're eating. The way that you're referring to it is, I'm going to try keto. I'm going to try paleo. I'm going to try South Beach diet. Way back in the day, my dad ordered giant cases. I'm thinking like truckloads of grapefruit juice, because he read that you could eat anything, even McDonald's or whatever. And if you just chug grapefruit juice before, you'd be totally fine. You can't store fat. So that's what I mean when we're talking fad diets here. And the problem, well, first, the benefit of some of these things, like let's say, I don't align with any of these, but let's say someone wants to try paleo. Well, if they're eating the standard American diet and they go to paleo, they're going to feel a lot better initially. That's amazing, because paleo is primarily whole foods. Now, maybe it's a little more restrictive than it needs to be for most people, but they're going to feel better. I have two concerns with traditional fad diets, though. Number one is if it gets mentally not healthy, if people are thinking good food, bad food, can't on a diet, and then when I get off a diet, I eat 29 donuts just because I can. That's a mental mess that we don't want to deal with. But also physically, if we go on a crash diet or something that's really restrictive, our metabolism slows to compensate. Again, your body's only goal is to keep you alive. So if I'm eating 3,000 calories a day and all of a sudden I go to 800 calories a day, highly do not recommend, but let's say someone did, their body's going to keep them alive. So what does it do? It shuts off anything non-essential. Shut off hormones, shut off thyroid, shut off all this stuff. Learn how to operate on 800 calories a day just to keep me alive. And then the moment that I eat 1,000 calories a day, oh my gosh, I'm gaining weight. So we really want to be careful with these drastic restrictive diets. Even if it makes you feel good for a couple of days, it is hurting you in the long run.
Yeah. Okay. So it's almost like a pendulum swinging like that.
Yes, exactly. I always tell my clients, and they look at me like I have three heads. I want people, if their goal is weight loss, I want them to eat as much food as possible while still losing weight, because that's going to keep their metabolism strong. And so when I'm suggesting foods to them, it's really voluminous. It's lots of vegetables and fruits and proteins and all of this stuff. They're not just eating like, a leaf of lettuce on a plate or something like that. We really want to nourish our bodies, all the vitamins and minerals and everything in Vitamin-E's and whole foods and beyond. This is fuel for our metabolism. We really need this.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. And I love talking about that with Vitamin-E's too. It's like, just give yourself everything that you need. And it kind of goes back to what you were saying in the beginning about thinking about the information and trying to figure out what your body needs and help it, as opposed to fighting what your body's telling you. And I think that's what a lot of diets are like. If your body's craving this, fight against it. Fight against that.
Absolutely. Yeah, and cravings are for a reason. I mean, let's face it. If I'm only craving ice cream for an entire week and I don't want to eat anything else, it's probably more emotional than physical. But maybe if I'm craving whatever, maybe if I'm craving pickles is the classic one that people think of with cravings. Maybe your body needs salt. Maybe if I'm craving chocolate before my period, maybe I need more magnesium. So I could take a Vitamin-E's with some magnesium. And that again is just like a little message of, let's figure out what your body wants.
Totally. Love that. And then the last thing, you mentioned sleep and stress, which are always hot topics. How do those impact the imbalances and weight management, and how can people kind of make sure they're covered on that front?
Yeah, I totally wish they didn't. Let's be honest. I love my job. I love serving people. I love working. And I wish I could work, well, maybe not 24/7. I wish I could work a lot and then have fun a lot and never sleep. That would be awesome for me. But it doesn't work that way, unfortunately. Sleep is so essential. In fact, that deep sleep period is where we secrete human growth hormone, which sounds bad if you're trying to lose weight, but it's actually good for our body composition. It's when we clear out inflammation. So if you ever, maybe you're traveling and you're on an airplane and then you get home late and you go to sleep, but you only sleep for 4 hours and you're kind of stressed and your circadian rhythm's off, you might wake up and feel really puffy and bloated. That's inflammation. Your body needs that good quality deep sleep to flush that inflammation out. And that can really get in the way of weight loss as well. So how can people do this? I mean, the classic thing to say is people need 7 to 9 hours of sleep per night, which is amazing. I will say whatever you can get it. And then beyond that, really focus on quality. So if someone says, look, I'm in this phase of life with young kids and jobs and aging parents and all this stuff, I can only get 6.5 hours of sleep per night. Great. Let's optimize quality and make sure you're doing everything you can to practice sleep hygiene, get that body into good quality deep sleep. And similar thing with stress. I mean, let's face it, no one listening can completely eliminate stress, and that wouldn't even be good for our bodies. Stress is what's called hormetic, which is like, if it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger. A little bit of it makes you more resilient. We just have to get to learn how to recover. So stress recovery. And for me, that might look like I am looking this way because I have luckily a window to the outside and a door to the outside right in my office. I might just stand out there for 30 seconds and like breathe and look at the tree and do nothing. Or it might be I take a weekend day and I really don't work that day. Or it might be I go on vacation a couple times a year. Or it might be I have a meditation practice. Or I go to Tuesday morning spin class with my friends. Whatever it is for someone, there needs to be that built-in real period of recovery. That's what I call soul recovery. It's like it feels so good when you're doing it. So if meditation for you right now feels like a should and not a fun thing, well, that's great. You can still absolutely try it. But I also want something that feels like that soul recovery, feels really good to you.
That's great. I love that. And I think like the theme I'm taking away from this is being healthy should feel good. And I completely agree with that. Like you should not feel like you're fighting yourself, like you're torturing yourself, like you're starving yourself. I completely agree. And that was actually one of the reasons behind Vitamins is even pills and regimens and all this stuff feels like torture. And like getting your nutrition should be easy, tasty, fun. Like let's make it easy on ourselves.
Totally.
I think
so many people have had, that handful of pills and they're like, oh, I just can't do it. But having something that tastes good, they can totally do it.
Yes. And I just love your philosophy because like life is short. Like let's not torture ourselves. Let's take care of ourselves.
Yes, I agree.
I love it. Well, thank you so much, Megan. As always, it's a pleasure to talk to you. Tell us where people can find you if they want to learn more about what you do.
Absolutely. Everything is at thelyonsshare.org. So THELYONS share.org. There's how to work with us, our podcast, social media, blog, everything you need right there.
Awesome. Thanks again. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.